In the early morning gray, a priest was walking along a forest path on his way to serve the liturgy. He never reached the altar. Struck down from behind by an unidentified assassin, he was killed with a single blow. That priest was Father Alexander Men. Decades later, simply mentioning his name in a gathering of believers will immediately split the room. To one side, faces soften with gratitude for a missionary saint whose books carried them across the threshold of the church. To the other side, faces tighten with suspicion, finding in those same books a bridge that seems to lead somewhere it should not. His unsolved murder leaves an open wound in the church's memory, but his contested legacy forces us to confront a difficult question. What happens when an ancient, uncompromising faith collides with a deeply fractured modern world? To understand Father Men, you have to understand the air he breathed. He operated under a materialist Soviet state that had spent several generations erasing the public's religious vocabulary, turning the church into a memory grown faint. The people who came to his desk were the children of an enforced forgetting. They were raised on strict materialism and were unable to even imagine what a religious view of the world might look like from the inside. In his book, The Price of Truth, Boris Krieger refuses the simple caricatures of Men as either a flawless saint or a dangerous heretic. He weighs the accusations with historical honesty, refusing to let praise or suspicion settle the matter. Krieger argues that Father Men's life acts as a diagnostic doorway. It opens into the ultimate dilemma of a serious mission. How do you translate eternal truths for a secular society without altering them in the process? To reach minds that had no category for God, Father Men used what Krieger calls missionary translation. He borrowed the furniture his listeners already possessed, science, art, and philosophy, to build a road toward the church. Because the distance between the secular world and the altar was vast, Men built a road wide enough for the modern soul. Its value is found in where it lands. He never founded a sect. His traffic moved exclusively toward the canonical church. The physical results were thousands of people crossing back into a deep sacramental life. Once they entered, many passed on from his gentle introduction into the sterner world of the Church Fathers. A missionary bridge is ultimately proven by its destination, and Men's bridges delivered travelers to the altar of the historic church. However, this flexibility carries a real cost. Critics point to the road itself and ask if certain planks were sound, arguing that his comparisons to other religions lean toward syncretism. Translation is always a risk. Filing down the sharp edges of a doctrine to make it fit a secular frame can lead to the accidental alteration of the truth itself. Krieger acknowledges this danger. A bridge built too wide can leave a traveler standing at a comfortable beginning, never realizing they were meant to move on to a more demanding fullness. The price of extreme missionary flexibility is the risk of a shared forgetting, an agreement purchased by the quiet dissolution of doctrine. This risk explains why the Orthodox Church insists on a precision that can rival the exactness of the sciences, refusing to amend its first principles under any pressure. Krieger's core analogy is that doctrines operate like mathematical axioms, foundational realities that cannot be altered without the entire structure failing. From this structure, a glowing path represents apostolic succession, an unbroken line of touch passing authority through history. This line is viewed as the delivery mechanism for the Church's sacramental reality. It makes the real presence at the altar a physical fact rather than a symbolic memorial. From this perspective, true unity cannot be achieved by negotiating away these axioms, but only through a return to their exact fullness. If doctrinal precision is absolute, then it would seem Father Men's most rigid and uncompromising critics are entirely justified. But Krieger argues that the manner of holding the truth is inseparable from the truth held. He suggests the subtlest danger to the faith isn't the heretic outside the walls, but the zealot without discernment within them. When doctrine is weaponized, a community of repentant sinners is turned into an armed camp, constantly searching for traitors and filling the house of God with suspicion. A doctrine defended with malice has already been falsified by the one defending it. A strict truth held without love is merely an empty prison. For Krieger, the life of the church requires a difficult balance, the exactness of a scientist and the humility of a saint.
This abstract principle takes on a human shape in the story of an old woman standing at a baptismal font. She was being baptized 30 years after Father Men first spoke to her. He didn't live to finish the preparation he began, but the seed he planted survived 3 decades of an ordinary life. While the price of truth is high, a single word spoken in love can go on echoing for a generation, outlasting the controversies and surviving even the death of the speaker.